Okay, we go to the last story, and this is the story of Jean Savoy. Jean Savoy was called by People magazine the real Indiana Jones, and he loved it. He had this generous mustache. He wore a jaunty Stetson. Does that sound familiar? And he was a self-promoter to a fault, and was one of the first to engage in archeotourism. And he would charge people $10,000 a pop to go out storming through the jungles with him. But he, in 1964, 1965, really came across the real Vilcabamba. So he did discover it. And he would get a lot of people to pay a lot of money to go exploring with, quote, Indiana Jones. So even Bingham had some doubts about Machu Picchu being Vilcabamba, and other scientists had figured out, because the documents didn't match, or the document didn't match the site. So here's the document describing Vilcabamba. The site, Machu Picchu, just didn't match up to it. So there were a lot of doubts, and they kept looking for Vilcabamba, and eventually found it in the mid-60s. Now, he was not trained in archaeology or anthropology or any other ology. He was an adventurer. He dreamed of fame and fortune. He wanted to do something big. He was a journalist, and he wanted to publicize the hell out of it, and he did. So the Incas had a sophisticated network of something like 12,000 miles of roads, many of them, of course, quite covered over. Many of them led back into the jungle. So his exploration strategy was twofold. Number one, talk to the natives, and number two, follow the roads, follow the roads, follow the roads. And of course, the natives could tell you, well, here's a trail, here's something, looks like this might go further, looks like this might have been a road, let's go this way. So that was his strategy, and it paid off. And of course, the jungle takes those roads back. As a writer, his travels were always, quote, daring expeditions. Were always daring expeditions. That's what he wrote about. Heavy on self-promotion, very short on science, say his critics. And he is credited, or he credits himself, with discovering some 40 pre-Inca or Inca sites. One critic says, Savoy's finds were about as hard as finding an elephant in a zoo. So here you've got Indiana Jones crashing around, and here you've got the, quote, ologists of different kinds going in doing scientific research, and boy, they were just not communicating. What we have here is a failure to communicate. So here's where the scientists badmouth him. They point out that a carefully trained archaeologist will go in, carefully document a site, preserve the artifacts, build a theory to explain their discoveries, make sure it's secured, of course. Whereas Savoy goes smashing through the jungle in search of glory. Indiana Jones, here I come. And instead of spending all this time on journals and all that folderol that pointy-headed academics do, he would publicize the hell out of it and then take off. And oftentimes leave a site unsecured, which would lead to looting and such things as that. Exploring is the key, he says. The scientists tell you what you found, but you have to find it in the first place. Let the scientists come in later. And he dismissed his critics as fuddy-duddy academics. And besides, he says, I hate the dang jungle.